This hour, we preview tomorrow night's State of the Union address. We're going to take a look at what the president will take credit for and whether or not he deserves it. The Russia probe continues to hang over everything in Washington. We'll take a look at where the GOP is as it respects Bob Mueller, his probe, and the prospect of firing him. And we have breaking news tonight. Also, week 2 of the Percoco corruption trial. Testimony continues, and we are live at the courthouse. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and we have also a couple of special conversations as anniversaries of sorts that we acknowledge this evening on our program, that later on in the hour. Big news is what happens tomorrow, because tomorrow night President Trump will deliver his first State of the Union address. He spoke about it this afternoon.
Well, I hope it's going to be good. We worked on it hard, cover a lot of territory, including our great success with the markets and with the tax cut. And it's a big speech, an important speech. We cover immigration, and for many years, many years, they've been talking immigration. They never got anything done. We're going to get something done. We hope it's got to be bipartisan, because the Republicans really don't have the votes to get it done in any other way. So it has to be bipartisan.
The economy, immigration, trade, infrastructure, bipartisanship, those, as we understand them, will be the major themes we'll hear tomorrow night. And of course, the president will take full credit for the economy. But economists agree that a president really can't make an impact in his first year, no matter what he does. Plus, let's take a closer look at what, in fact, he inherited. Now, the unemployment rate, it was below 5% when President Trump took office. It was nearly 8%, just as a frame of reference, when Obama was sworn in. And check out this chart. The last 5 years of Obama saw at least 2 million jobs created every single year. Some years they were even 3 million or really close to that. Trump's first year in office saw just a hair over 2 million jobs created. Whatever it's worth, if you want to match it to Obama, that is below the Obama year of his presidency. In fact, the last Obama year had about 10% more new jobs than the first Trump year. But let's digress here and take a look at some other numbers, more specifically poll numbers. 36% approve of the job that this president is doing, way more than half they disapprove. Plus, only 29% say he's a good role model for their children, and only about a third say he's honest. Staying with the third, 33% say he provides good moral leadership for the United States of America. But there is a massive partisan divide when you ask these questions. When just Republicans are asked, 72% say he's a good role model, 84% think he's honest, and 8 in 10 say he provides good moral leadership. That is evidence of the divide that is America today. Let's bring in our panel right now. Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College and also a senior advisor at the consulting firm Applied Techonomics. We're also joined by Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. And I should mention right off the top, Andrew's going to be heading down after the program to go down to Washington all day tomorrow. You'll be speaking to lawmakers. You'll be there before the address and after the address for some live reaction from the Hill. I don't remember a time, and Washington always had partisan divides. Please, let's not be Pollyannish about this, but not as fractured as this, and just that snapshot poll we showed echoes it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the State of the Union is generally for laying out broad themes. It's not a lot of details, and there's always bickering between the parties. President Obama would lay out an agenda, and Republicans would explain why it was absolutely no good. A couple of things. Those approval numbers that you saw for President Trump, we've been saying for a long time that it's the lowest first-year numbers for any president. It's also among the lowest all-time giving a State of the Union address. I mean, Truman late in his administration, Reagan late in his administration, George W. Bush late in his administration, and Bill Clinton, I think around 93 or 94. I mean, those are the only folks who have had lower numbers going into a State of the Union address. I really wonder if tomorrow night moves the needle for anybody when it comes to this, because if you're a Trump supporter, you're pretty entrenched as being pro-Trump. If you're a Trump opponent, you're pretty entrenched in that way also. It's going to be a teleprompter speech, assuming that he sticks to the speech. We've talked before about a low bar that he faces. I don't think tomorrow night's going to have a huge amount of consequence for this president.
You know, though, Jeannie, I agree with Andrew with what he said, except I remember a year ago, the fact that he could read the prompter. Everyone said, wow, he was presidential. Now, within, I think, 6 hours, he did a tweet storm, and all that was forgotten. And in many ways, we'll talk about it next segment. They already stepped on their lead today with, pushing out the deputy FBI director. Again, not for next segment. But I believe when people see him stand up there for 50 minutes and read a prompter, assuming he reads the prompter and he's read it at least once before he delivers it, there'll be people who say, wow, he looks like a president. And I think he'll get more of a bump potentially than a lot of other presidents have if he can just stay presidential for a 24-hour news window. You buy that?
I do, to a certain extent, and this speaks to the issue of the low bar that has been set for him. And as you mentioned, last year was astounding because people, although I would just caution and say that was at the beginning of the administration, so people said, wow, he's pivoting, he's finally turned the corner, this is it, he's going to, be the president that everybody thought. And then, as you mentioned, within a few hours, he was tweeting. I'm not sure as many people buy into that now, even if he does read the prompter, but I do think the bar is set so low. If he sticks to prompter, if he makes a good speech, if people feel like he's being bipartisan, he's reaching across the aisle, he's talking about a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, people will say he did a good job. But to Andrew's point, I don't think this moves the needle in terms of
because
where
you
people
agree with
sit.
Andrew that people are so hardened in their camps?
They are so hardened. And the only thing I would add is they were almost, not quite, but almost equally hardened. His poll numbers were not quite as low, nearly. But when President Obama was in office, they were equally as hardened where they sat party-wise. So not that his poll numbers were nearly that low, but this divide is not a Trump creation. This divide is something that has, something that has been a long time coming in the U.S.
Okay, I want to get to the optics of this in a second, but the big thing he's going to talk about is first of all, he'll talk in the first person more than any president. I believe this. If anyone has the time, look at usually they're aspirational messages because that's just what every president does. They talk about accomplishments. Every president does that regardless of party. But they usually talk about their administration. He's going to talk about himself, and he may even do a third person here.
It depends on what Stephen Miller writes for him.
Exactly. But if he talks about how great the stock market is and he talks about how great the economy is, he's not without merit in saying that, yes, the market is certainly at an all-time high. And a lot of jobs have been created. We've just said at the top of the show, it certainly has followed a trend. It didn't certainly buck what he walked in on. Do you think that will change opinions? I just went through a whole report today, not for tonight, but certain parts of the economy are doing terrific. But if you are in the middle class here, your life has not gotten better. And I think certainly people in our area know come tax time, it might even get worse. Do you think people will buy the message that America's on the right track?
They may very well, but don't forget, around the one-year anniversary of his inauguration, which was last week, there were a bunch of polls that came out that said, yes, Americans think the economy is improving, but by like a 15-point spread, they give the credit to that to Barack Obama, something like 54, 53% do, as opposed to somewhere in the 30s give that credit to President Trump. And I don't see him
And by the way, that's not a dig at Trump. Every president in less than 12 months, they can enact, even if they deregulate, even if they change policies, the tax policies haven't even taken effect yet. So it's not even a shot at Trump. It's just a fact. Nobody can execute the change in year one.
Yes, but economic success is more a perception than a reality. So if people feel like the economy is doing well, that's one thing. If people feel like the economy is helping them directly, that's a different question. And I'm not sure that people are going to necessarily feel that way. But I don't think Trump is going to sell people tomorrow night on, I'm the one, like convincingly sell people that I'm the one who made this economy good and getting them off their preconceived notions that it was President Obama.
I only got 30 seconds for this, Jeannie. If you gave free advice to Democrats tomorrow night, Pelosi already over the weekend said Trump's trying to make America white again, that work like a lead balloon. Should they play to their base? Or should they try to make sure that they don't have a you lied moment like that congressman did when Obama was delivering an address? How strident should they be? Or how strident should they be for their base?
I don't think it makes sense for them to shout out things. I don't think that ever makes sense, and I didn't approve of it when it happened. And I think they should show up, but I don't think they need to be standing up and cheering. I think they should be respectful of the office, but I think they should come with their dreamers or make the statement that they want to make respectfully about where they sit and their opposition to the president, even if they support the office.
And I know usually people don't watch for the rebuttal. We'll carry that, of course, but it's going to be Joe Kennedy. The congressman is going to deliver the rebuttal from the Democrats here, and I will bet any amount of money that he will be drawing some parallels to his namesake here. But again, that for tomorrow. All right. We will show the entire speech, of course, live tomorrow. It begins at 9 o'clock, and we'll have full coverage after that analysis. We'll have former congressmen from our region here sitting at the table with me. Plus, Andrew, as I mentioned, will be live on the Hill with lawmakers as they come out of chambers. All right, coming up next. President, as I said, will deliver that State of the Union while the Russia probe is overhanging everything here. We're going to take a look at where the Republican Party stands on Bob Mueller and those reports. The president wanted to fire him. Are they putting party above country? We'll discuss straight ahead.